Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our top fantasy football wide receiver rankings for 2020. Specifically, we're talking about our wide receiver 2 rankings. These are the wide receivers that you should start looking for in the early rounds of your fantasy football draft to fill out your starters, and you should target them if you want to win your draft to win your league. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow.
Hit that drop. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin and that is Kyle. Boom, boom. Him. Yep, me. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football Podcast and YouTube channel. As Kyle said at the beginning, we're bringing you our final run through of Fantasy Football wide receiver rankings. Today, we are handling wide receiver 2s. Yesterday, we gave you wide receiver 3s, which you can click up above that way. Yep. I think I did it right this time, Kyle.
Maybe we'll figure out in post.
We will. And if you're interested, last week we ran through our running back 1s and running back 2s, so definitely check those out in the description below as well.
RBs.
What you got for me? RBs.
Yeah, RBs. All right, so look, guys, click that like button. Yep. Drop a comment and let us know. Hey, look, we're interested in figuring a little bit out about what's happening in leagues this year, given the uniqueness of the situation. So if your league, we want to know, is your league drafting in person or online this year? So drop that down there in the comments. I want to kind of get an idea of what people are doing. All right, let's dive in headfirst into the shallow end. We are talking about wide receiver 2s today. That means wide receiver 13 through 24, but we're going to do those backwards. So right off the top, Justin, who do you have for me at wide receiver 2?
And this is one
wide receiver. Who do you have for me at wide receiver 24? Two. Yeah, we're going to jump right ahead. 24.
So this is one of our favorites. We've talked about him a lot, and that's Marvin Jones, wide receiver, Detroit Lions. He's going 8th pick in the 8th round, and wide receiver 37 on Fantasy Pros. This is just getting ridiculous, everybody. I get it. He plays for Detroit Lions.
I think if you draft him in the 8th round, I think isn't there some unwritten rule that you're allowed to smack at least 2 of the people in your league in the face?
You would think after a guy that was wide receiver 14 after 14 weeks last year. Yeah. Only missed the other 2 games because he got hurt, but he's fully healthy now.
Oh, and how long did he have Matthew Stafford for that season?
What, 7 games?
I think it was 7 or 8. Games? It was 7 full games. 8th he got hurt.
7. 7.
7. Yep, 7.
But it's one of those things where we expect Matthew Stafford to come back healthy. All signs are pointing to that. There's just all this talks out of training camp that Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay cannot be stopped in practice, and that's like a lot of Jeff Okuda. I can't remember Okuda. It's like a little trial by fire for him. That's for sure. Coming in the league,
that's quite the fire, man. Oh
my gosh, you get those 2 coming at you.
Stafford, dude, some of the passes that he's throwing friggin' like 45-yard darts. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and it's just breadbasket, boom, right there. But again, hit him in a bad spot, right in the hands. But these guys catch it actually. Yeah, man. Marvin Jones, if you're getting him in the 8th round, you might league
winner right there.
You might need to upgrade the league you're playing in if you're getting him in the 8th round. You might be playing with children because that's bad. He has the possibility of finishing as wide receiver 1 on this team just because Galladay is a lower volume receiver usually. Yeah. He's higher efficiency, lower volume.
Yeah.
But Marvin Jones puts up numbers too.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets a lot. It seems like every other catch he has, it goes for a touchdown. And it's not like he catches it just in the end zone or something.
Right.
It's like he gets it and then runs 30 yards for the touchdown, that kind of thing. So, yeah, great value. Go after it. Get him. Come on. Take him there. Take him in the 6th. Have some guts.
Do it.
Yeah. All right. So wide receiver 23, we've got Cooper Kupp. He's going 11th pick of the 3rd round. So I think that's a value choice where people have just decided that he's going to get more than Robert Woods. Last year we did, mention that Marvin Jones did a really good job and was wide receiver 14. Cooper Kupp was up there too. He did finish really, really well.
It was like wide receiver 7, I think.
Something like
total.
That. Yeah, but what you have to understand is that is looking at numbers that he put up through the majority of the first half of the season. That offense shifted, it moved, it became an offense that Robert Woods is probably going to be the featured guy in now. And so it makes it really difficult to say Cooper Kupp is going to do the same thing. You can imagine that his TDs are going to go down a little bit. And that's not saying that he like overperformed. It's that Robert Woods underperformed, and those TDs have to come from somewhere. And there's much fewer opportunities in this offense now. Robert Woods, I think, only had 3 touchdowns maybe in the last season, and it took to like week 10, I think, before he had his first one. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we're down on him a little bit. We're still looking at him as a wide receiver 2, back of the pack for us, but he's going to present some weeks where he does, front end wide receiver 2 work for you. But I would just be very wary of thinking that he's going to finish in the wide receiver 1 talk. So.
Yeah, it's just hard to ignore what he did in that second half, and all signs
what
he didn't do. Yeah, but all signs are pointing to they're probably running a 12 personnel again. Higbee and Gerald Everett. I mean, why not?
What do they have? Like 5 running backs, 20 of them? I don't know.
Pretty much.
They're keeping all the running backs, and the Bears are keeping all the tight ends.
I mean, of all the players, this hurts me the most that we have them ranked this low. But it is what it is. You have to get away from your fanboyness a little bit.
Yep.
Even though I hurt you, George Kittle. But so
you don't have to run from him.
Up next at number 22, we have DJ Chark, Jacksonville Jags. 6th pick in the 5th round. He's going as 23rd wide receiver in Fantasy Pros, so we're basically right there.
Yeah.
And this guy finished, I think, as like the 12th or 13th best wide receiver last year, and I think he's, we're a little low on him just because.
I would agree. He actually moved up my board.
Yeah, I did too.
Probably not enough.
It's one of those things where this offense still is a little scary. We don't know exactly what we're going to get out of Gardner Minshew, but I think they're going to be playing from behind quite a bit because the defense just took another hit.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yannick Ngakoue just got traded. I probably said that really wrong. Ngakoue, thank you. He just got traded, so it's like I don't know if this defense can stop a nosebleed, so they're going to have to throw it a lot to catch up. And hey, that garbage time points are still points in fantasy football.
There's a lot of people drafting Minshew in leagues that need a second quarterback, or they're like, you know what, I'm going to take an upside flyer and see what happens here. Look, if you're doing this, if you're doing what we suggest, which is to kind of wait, that's not a bad move. Like, he could finish as a wide receiver, or as a QB1 for you easily. And it's going to be guys like DJ Chark that are pulling that off for you. It's DJ Chark, D. Westbrook, Laviska Shenault, and then Leonard Fournette. Everybody's
and Chris Thompson as well.
Yeah. Everybody's so low on Leonard Fournette. It's like, dude caught 100 balls, wasn't it? Or had 100 targets last year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of passes going around in this offense. Yeah, it's a lot of passes in this offense. I like him as a value in the 5th round. I think that's pretty good. All right, moving on. We've got wide receiver 21, and that is Michael Gallup. I think that's probably right about where we should have him. Is wide receiver
pretty good
21.
right there.
I feel like that's a solid spot for him. He's going right now as wide receiver 31, though, on Fantasy Pros, and he is the 4th pick of the 7th round. That is an unbelievable value. Like, he should be going, in my opinion, 5th round, somewhere in the 5th round, probably front of the 5th round, because that offense is just going to throw. It's going to be a modified West Coast scheme. Dak Prescott is decently accurate, and he and Gallup showed chemistry last year. Gallup is fully into a breakout here, guys, and they did pay Amari Cooper a whole lot of money, right? A whole boatload of money. That doesn't mean they're going to pay him all of that money. A whole yacht bowl. That doesn't mean they're going to pay him all that money. It just means that they've decided that he's worth it now. Until Michael Gallup passes him as wide receiver 1, which could happen any day now. Honestly, it could. So look, I think that Michael Gallup is the more consistent wide receiver on that offense. I think he's worth going up there and grabbing. And I like him in the 7th round. I think that's great value.
Absolutely. I mean, this guy is on quite a bit of an upward trajectory when it comes to being an NFL wide receiver, he came out of, I think it was like Colorado State or something like that, I believe it was. I mean, it was a smaller school or something, but it's one of those things where, a lot of those smaller school wide receivers takes a little while to get going, and it hasn't really taken that long for Michael Gallup to get going and just take off. And like you said, I think he could finish with more, with a better fantasy points total than Amari Cooper. It is quite possible. So, up next, we have at number 20, we have JuJu Smith-Schuster. I'm definitely much higher on him than you are, but for ADP, we have a third pick in the fourth round. 14th wide receiver total, and I'm just banking on Ben Roethlisberger being healthy and JuJu coming back into the slot, and that's what everybody has been saying. That's what Mike Tomlin's been saying. That's what offense has been saying. Yeah. He had to play on the outside even when he was healthy last year, which was very little. But he's more in a slot, and he just feasts on that. You can put
he's got an advantage in
James Washington.
Yeah, he's got the advantage in the slot. So.
Yeah, he's 6'2", but he's still quick enough to beat speedy cornerbacks, and you can't put a linebacker on him. So it's like he's a mismatch, waiting to happen. So that's why I think he's so highly productive when the ball is in his hands and when he's thrown to him. And I think Big Ben has shown a lot of chemistry with him. I think that's going to continue.
Yeah, but they're clearly they're done with him. Like this is why I'm a little bit lower on him is because I think that they're going to try to work Chase Claypool in, and JuJu, he does boom when he gets the opportunity. My concern is that he's going to lose a little bit of that along the way, and so that's why I'm a little higher on other guys and fading him a little bit. You put him in a different offense and they drop him in the slot, and I think he's going to be fine if he's not getting any competition. I think he's going to do a great job. There's a lot of offense to go around in Pittsburgh, guys, so the value is still there. All right, so moving on, we've got Robert Woods at wide receiver 19 for us. He is currently wide receiver 18 over on Fantasy Pros, and he's going 12th pick of the fourth round. I think that's a pretty good value, actually. 12th pick of the fourth round. I don't know that I would take him in the third round. I think I would be willing to take him in the front of the fourth round. And look, he's going to get the volume that he's on the field all the time. We talked about it earlier. They're going to run more 12 personnel just like they did in the second half last year. And he's on the field in 12 personnel because he's a blocking wide receiver. Cooper Kupp's trying to do that more, but I don't think he's going to be able to knock Robert Woods off that pedestal. And so him being on the field enables him to be present when they audible out of the run because the other team has figured out they're running it all the time. We should block, put an eighth guy down in the box. Right. And Robert Woods is a decently solid body up receiver. He's going to fight for the ball. He's going to win those contested catches. And we're looking for him to, have progress here on his TDs. He really, really underperformed with the TDs last year. It was an aberration when you look at his career totals. So I think that he's going to climb back up the board here, and I think this is a good spot for him.
Robert Woods is one of the best, in my opinion, when it comes to all-around wide receiver. Not just catching the ball and everything. It's being able to stay on the field, 99% of the time. This guy does not come off the field, and that's something to be said. And that's Jared Goff is going to look to him even more, I think, this year. And he is the number one pass catching option on this offense, and that's another one that they're going to probably be playing from behind a little bit. So we'll see. I think they're going to be throwing a little bit more, I think, but I don't know. We'll see. I do like Robert Woods a lot.
Yeah.
But up next, another guy that we both like a lot, and that's Tyler Lockett. That's our wide receiver 18. He's going second pick in the fifth round, number 20 in Fantasy Pros. So they're a little down, but not much. We just still think that he's the wide receiver one on this offense. And
we know he is.
We know he is.
He is.
The only reason why DK Metcalf, really came on, into the second half of last year. One, he was improving as a rookie, but two is because Tyler Lockett had a knee issue. He had a knee, Kyle.
A knee.
Just one of them.
Just one knee.
Just one knee. But this guy, for being a short of stature, this guy gets a ton of red zone targets, a ton of end zone targets, and he catches them.
I think I was going to say end zone targets because he gets them 40 yards down the field usually.
Yeah, but it's like the amount of touchdowns this guy has the last 2 years is the top 5 in the league, and for some reason they still
on a run first offense.
Yeah, people still are fading that. I don't get it, Kyle. I don't get it.
He has been in his entire career underestimated in that respect. It's funny. In fantasy football, he is so underestimated. And it blows my mind because he does perform. He brings value. He's brought value as a wide receiver 1/2 for a long time. And he performs even when the other wide receivers on the team don't. Yeah. This is a run-first offense. They want to run the ball. They're effective at running the ball. And so those passes over the top on play action open up all the time. They just do. So that's why he gets open. He's very fast.
He doesn't want to be underestimated anymore.
Routes.
He just wants to be estimated.
Yeah, that's just estimated. That's all. Not under, not over, just estimated.
I'm not superstitious, Kyle. I'm just a little stitious.
A little stitious.
What do you got next for us?
Irregardless rather than regardless, the real word. All right, so wide receiver 17 for us is T.Y. Hilton. He's wide receiver 22 over at Fantasy Pros. He's going 6th pick of the 5th round. We like him as a wide receiver 2 middle of the wide receiver 2 group. I would take him as a wide receiver 1. I would if I had to. I don't know that I would have to. Unless you're in like our league, which is a keeper league, you kind of have to.
May have to.
Yeah, but I think getting him as a wide receiver 2 is a great thing. He's blowing up in camp with Phillip Rivers.
Yeah,
he really is. The soft tissue injury that people are fading him on. Dan asked him, he's okay. My brother lives next door to T.Y.
Yeah.
But no.
He rubs his hammies down every night.
Every night. He oils them up with a little bit of baby oil. Creepo. But look, T.Y. is going to be solid. This guy has performed in this league for a long time.
Yeah.
And they've had guys here and there. He's the one they kept because they knew he was the one worth it. And he's going to have an outlandish year, I think, for his draft price with Phillip Rivers. He's really going to kill it.
I just look back on the Phillip Rivers and Keenan Allen connection, and I mentioned it in yesterday's episode. Keenan Allen's a really good route runner. T.Y. Hilton is probably just as good, maybe even better, but there's a difference, and that's explosion. And T.Y. Hilton still has it when he's on the field. He can still explode and get that short area quickness is just still outstanding. And I think we're going to have another year or two of T.Y. Hilton being very fantasy relevant. So up next,
especially at that price.
Yeah, at that price, you can't beat that. Up next, number 16, we have Odell Beckham Jr., Cleveland Browns wide receiver. First pick of the 4th round. He's going as a
10th pick of the 4th round.
Oh, my bad. 4. That's my bad. MB, my bad. 10th pick in the 4th round. Take it, Kaha. Wide receiver 17 on Fantasy Pros. And we mentioned this yesterday on our episode. We don't see Odell Beckham Jr. repeating what he did last year.
Yeah.
There's always been a thing when it comes to a standout wide receiver going to a new team. There's usually a first year feeling each other out, kind of down year. And he had that. One, he was also dealing with the sports hernia for pretty much the whole year, and he's played through it just to help out. Yeah. So all those things, and then everything out of camp's just saying he's on the same page with Baker. This dude is so damn talented, Kyle.
Oh, yeah.
I think he can outperform this.
He's had, I think last year was the only year that he didn't perform as a wide receiver 1 in his career. Possibly. As a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. No, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And it's not like he didn't have competition for targets in New York. He absolutely did. There were always guys that were fighting him for targets. I mean, he made Victor Cruz irrelevant pretty quick. I remember when Victor Cruz burst on the scene, people spent a lot in draft capital on him, and then OBJ just absolutely blew up.
Yep.
So, I would say draft him with confidence. I think he's going to have a good year this year. And getting him as a wide receiver 2, you're doing a really good job. You're going to be able to count on him performing as at least a wide receiver 2, I think. All right, moving on. So we have at wide receiver 15, we have DeVante Parker. He's currently wide receiver 29 over on Fantasy Pros, going in the 12th pick of the 6th round. That's pretty late for a guy who was wide receiver 2, I think, for the majority of the season last year.
It was after like week 2 or week 3 or something like that?
It was like, I think it was from like week 2 on, he was wide receiver 2. Something like that. It's pretty.
Did I break
crazy.
it?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And the pass volume is going to go down a little bit this year. Kind of don't know what the quarterback situation is. So that does complicate things. But at least right now, what we do know is that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be the starter. That's very clear. And I think that Brian Flores is going to take a very conservative approach with Tua. I do think that
why
at
not?
some point,
I mean, might as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
why rush him out there
No.
to get him injured again potentially?
Yeah.
I mean, Tua is a special player.
Yep.
We
Let's keep him
believe
around.
he's still a special player.
Yeah.
That he had a pretty horrific injury. But why would you rush that guy back out there? I mean, he doesn't have to. Yeah, he's missed like a year or so, right? But why put him out there in an NFL game without giving him a lot more? Like, he didn't even have preseason. So I think that he'll see the field eventually, but I don't think he's going to see it for a little while. And that keeps DeVante Parker's value absolutely high. A lot of people think that Preston Williams is going to take over for DeVante Parker, but that wasn't the case before he was hurt, and that I don't think that's going to be the case now. And it wasn't like DeVante Parker suddenly saw a ton of extra targets when Preston Williams was put on IR. I think he saw like 2 targets more per game at that point, and he was averaging nearly 11 targets. So if you're in PPR, definitely go draft this guy a little bit higher than that.
I think he's going to bring you quite a bit of value. He's going to bring a pretty good floor. I think they are going to pass it quite a bit if it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, because that's what he loves to do. And there's definitely a DeVante Parker and then everybody else when it comes to the receiving talent on that team. So
running game's a little bit better, so there may be some more running touchdowns. But
wait, Kalen Balazs? Wait, is he a thing? No.
Well, he's back on the team.
For about 2 seconds. All right. Up next at number 14, we have Calvin Ridley, Atlanta Falcons. He's going first pick in the 4th round. There we go. I got that one right this time.
There you go.
Fantasy Pros has him as wide receiver 12. Wow, they're watching us.
Yeah, they must be.
They're watching us, but we're pretty aggressive, I think, on this wide receiver 14, and I kind of look back at what Chris Godwin did last year and where he finished this, whenever it came to the final of the year. Like, he was I think wide receiver 18 going into the draft, and he finished top 5 wide receiver. And if anybody can do it this year, I think it's Calvin Ridley. And it's very similar because, Chris Godwin was looked at as the second wide receiver on his team behind Mike Evans going in the season. Calvin Ridley is the second wide receiver going into this year, behind Julio Jones. But I mean, all signs pointing at camp is this guy is just on it right now, and they're going to throw it 700 times, Kyle, possibly.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of offense.
I mean, even the people who are fading that offense as like not throwing it as much are still saying 620. That's still saying 620, passes.
Yeah.
So, yes, they've got a running back who can actually catch passes. So that's going to take away a little bit. But still, I mean, you've got 700 targets to go among like 4 or 5 guys. So
620 total passes at a 22.5 target share. That's 140 targets.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe he's going to get that. I saw somebody trying to argue that you can't equate Calvin Ridley to Chris Godwin. And I'm like, why? Like, Chris Godwin performed with Mike Evans and Jameis Winston, and Mike Evans is still very, very serviceable. So is Julio.
Yep.
But Julio's creeping up there, guys. Like,
31, 32.
Yeah, he plays with a lot of injuries that slow him down. He just catches the heck out of the ball,
I hope
right?
it's not going to be like a Calvin Johnson situation where he'll keep playing, but he plays injured, and it just
says, I'm done. I'm out.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I like Ridley. I like him a lot. He's not available in our league. I know that much.
No.
But, yeah. All right, so our last one, we've got A.J. Brown at wide receiver 13. He's wide receiver 13 over on Fantasy Pros. Getting a little more consensus here, I guess. He's second pick of the 4th round. There is nobody else that they're going to throw to in that offense except for JuJu Smith. That is it. It is A.J. Brown, JuJu Smith, and Darrynton Evans every 4th or 5th series. They're going to throw. That's kind of the way it breaks down here. A.J. Brown is not just the only target. He's actually a very efficient target. Yeah. And he performs when he gets targeted, and he does well. And I think that people just look at this offense and think, it's not that exciting. It's got Derrick Henry, who's a bit of a like a beast, but a plotter, right? At the same time, he's only had the one season where he's really performed. And so they look at it and they think, yeah, there's not much value here. But AJ Brown definitely is that value. He is one of those guys who he could jump up and become the next Julio, the next Megatron.
He's got one of those skills,
top, one of those top guys that just absolute beasts on the field, right?
Yep.
Which is scary when you add in Derrick Henry into that conversation.
Yeah, I just look at whenever Ryan Tannehill took over that job from Marcus Mariota and what that did to A.J. Brown when it comes to fantasy football. I mean, he just took off after that, just straight up took off. And, his efficiency may come down a little bit, but I think the targets are going to go way up.
Yeah.
It's a run-heavy team, but like you said, there's really not a whole lot of competition behind him. You got Corey Davis, busts. Adam Humphries.
Bust.
I mean, he was a
I don't think anybody had
Buccaneers.
I don't think anybody had any expectations. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I really like AJ Brown. Just so happened to be a keeper of mine. Thank you, Jared. He won't forgive me for that one again. But take us home, Kyle.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching us today. Look, we're going to be putting this podcast on all season long. We're going to help you. We've been discussing sort of the topics that we're going to cover. Mm-hmm. And so if you guys have some things that you think that we should cover during the season, why don't you go ahead and throw those down into the comments. Obviously, we're going to talk about studs, duds, waiver wire moves that you got to make, trade targets, that sort of stuff. We're talking about the QB streamers and defensive streamers that you should make, and just a few of the matchups here and there. Probably not going to go as in depth as some other podcasts do about the matchups, because we're not going to break down who you should start and sit that in depth. We're going to probably target a little bit, but not a whole lot. But we want to make sure that we're making something that's helpful and useful for you. We want to make sure that we're helping you get to your championship and then winning your championship this year. So definitely let us know down in the comments. All of you who have subscribed, make sure you're getting that comment down there, because it's going to help us help you. You've taken the time to go ahead and subscribe. And if you've taken the time to watch this whole video, then you've earned the response that we will give you, because we respond to everybody when you leave a comment. At least, we definitely try to. All right.
Except for all the spam ones. Sorry.
Yeah, the spam ones.
I'm not looking for a good night.
No, we delete those. All right. So, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And make sure you click that notification bell so that you get to follow us throughout the season. And you know what? Thanks for being a fan of The Upside. We'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.
Bye.